Hello and welcome to the Three Dead Babies podcast. I'm sitting here with Vampire Jesus and your humble co-host. So I think today we're going to really take a little bit of a...
We're going to go risque.
We're going to go risque. We're going to be jumping into racism and cultural appropriation.
Okay.
So being a person of color...
It really depends on who's pulling me over.
Yeah, you can start us off.
So, what aspect do you want to tackle first? Do you want to tackle the aspect of either whitewashing or color washing? Do you want to tackle an aspect of the basis of racism?
Yeah, I think we should
cultural
start with
appropriation. Or
I think if we start with like the basis of racism, and then we'll push into cultural appropriation as they relate to racism.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we can get into things like color washing terminology.
Okay.
And what those things create.
So my opinion...
We got to make sure to keep this place
Gotta
clean.
keep it clean. All right, so racism.
Mm-hmm.
So a basis for racism. I always find it really interesting because when people talk about racism, they mainly talk about black versus white. They don't ever really talk about other races. Sometimes they'll talk about like Asian races, especially like there's as much as no one likes to talk about it. There's a lot of black on Asian violence.
Yeah.
A very large, significant amount of it.
And again, like that's statistics.
That's
right?
statistics.
There's a statistical...
The thing that everyone fucking hates.
Yeah.
So statistically, there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And racism can come from any color, or race or whatever, right? So,
yeah. Which again is something that seems to be very confused for unknown reasons to me.
I know why.
Is that racism is only orchestrated by white people.
And here's the thing. Okay, racism nowadays is used as a political tool.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, there's like random Joe Blow who's fucking racist, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's black, white, Asian, native, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? But in a general sense, the majority of people aren't racist. I'm trying to say this properly.
Yeah. Take your time.
It's a hell of a minefield.
Yeah, it is difficult to navigate now.
Yeah. So anyway, the majority of people aren't racist. They just have preferences.
Yeah.
For the people that they like to hang out with. And that preference is not based on the color or the race of the person. It's based on the culture of that person.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's overlooked all the time.
Yeah.
And again, preferences is great. Having a conversation with someone that you can't understand, and this goes back to, again, like science of the mind, what's released into your body, like on a hormonal level, when you're in a situation where you're trying to navigate something of importance, or even just like, again, not so much small talk, but if you're navigating any kind of conversation, especially if the information is important to you, with somebody that cannot communicate well with you, you get a little bit of an aversion. And again, it's not based on race. There's just a language barrier there. And that person's entitled to have that preference. Most often, and again, this is something that's overlooked, most often people aren't like just flying off the handle, super rude, launching awful language and hate speech and racial slurs at someone. They try to navigate to the best of their ability, and then they can't. And that experience might have been really bad for them, so they try to avoid it. And then they get labeled with that horrible...
That term of being a racist. Or whatever. So, I have a thing. You know how a lot of people sometimes say race doesn't matter?
Yeah.
And people don't see color and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can prove it to you that this is all false in a very basic way that we can all understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So, go on Pornhub. Go on X videos, whatever. Any porn video.
I don't think that everyone will understand this.
Everyone will understand this.
Yeah.
Go on any of those websites. every single person on that website is divided up by their race, their color,
Yeah.
and like, yeah.
Yeah.
So race does play a massive factor in people and how you choose to interact with someone.
Yeah. Do you have examples outside of just porn searches?
No.
For race?
No.
Maybe a hyper specific example about how race matters. But I mean, we also have to be able to.
You're saying it's hyper specific. It's hyper specific. I would argue it's one of the only things that matter as us being animals, creatures,
Yeah.
right?
Go on.
Because so the whole point of humans is to reproduce, right? So the best way to look at what matters to a person
Yeah.
is what affects their reproduction.
Yeah.
And in this case, race, sex, color, build, whatever.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing they give a shit about when they're searching up porn to jerk off.
Okay.
Do you not understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'm picking up your pieces there. Yeah, I get it. I understand.
I don't think you agree with me though.
I think that there's some exploration that can be done in those conversations. Like there would be things that would impact how you come to those decisions based on the environment that you were raised in and you were brought up. And I think that,
well, that's just a culture thing.
and I agree with that. Like
Yeah.
the culture that you surround yourself with impacts your ability to make those decisions, but also, and not necessarily just the culture, but the environment you're put in. Like if you're attacked by a group of people, you're going to have an aversion to those groups of people, right? Like,
Yeah.
because
I'm thinking of a bit from a comedian.
your brain will be like, no, this is bad. And I
Yeah.
mean, someone can start in a great environment that was, in this super holistic environment where they're exposed to really positive attributes and culture, and people were sharing and giving, and then they're attacked, and you guys can just plug in whatever colors you want on this fancy example. But that guy's going to go home and be like, no, I don't want to fucking hang out with him anymore. I'm especially right after where it's like fresh trauma. He's going to be like, no, like it's not your fault that you have those traits that remind me of this instance, but unfortunately you have those traits, and that at this point it's uncomfortable and triggering for me.
So I'm gonna. Are you done with that point?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to the culture aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the main defining factor what causes racism, right? Because I have a wide variety of friends, and some that are hyper racist.
Yeah.
But their racism, when I talk to them about it, has nothing to do with the color of the person.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the culture of that person.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a super important point, because if you think about like any denomination of person with a specific skin color,
Yeah.
there are probably a plethora of other cultures that house that same skin color. I'll use white because I'm white, but I'm a white Canadian, right, of Scottish and French descent. But there's Polish white people. There's Germans are white. You're going to have white people that are grown up or that grow up in Africa. Like, those are white people, and they're exposed to that culture. You can't just color wash people.
You want to talk about Africa's racism for a bit?
We can absolutely talk about that.
So, for those who don't know, South Africa is mainly white, and the rest of Africa is mainly. I don't want to say it's mainly white. I think it's more black, but there's a very, very large white population.
Yeah, diverse community of people.
Yeah, and I hate myself for not remembering the country, but there was a country in South America, South Africa, that genocided white people.
Yeah,
Like the blacks there genocided all the white people because
committed genocide.
committed genocide or genocided, whatever.
Is genocided a word?
Genocided is a word, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's the act of genociding.
You
My
learn something every
favorite.
day. Learn something every day.
So, he put into the heads of the people
Yeah.
that white people were the problem for absolutely everything in their country.
Yeah.
So they genocided them and A lot of them they ran away and they moved to like places like Canada and the US.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, white people there were basically the only people that did farming.
Yeah.
No one else farmed. And they're the only ones that knew the ins and outs of farming. So when those lands that they forcefully took from white people was redistributed, no one knew how to farm. And it caused massive starvation.
Yeah.
And the government eventually then said, we made a mistake and started trying to bribe white people that had survived the genocide to come back.
Yeah.
Because there was no food in the country.
Yeah.
Right? That's just one example of racism from somewhere else in the world, right?
Yeah.
When people say racism, they mainly think about the US and African American and white American race and racism in between.
And that's very specific to the West, right? We only see or choose to believe in racism in this certain dynamic that is delivered to us through social media.
Yeah. And you want to know something? Some of the most racist people I've ever met are people from like South America. People in South America are super racist, unbelievably racist.
Yeah.
A lot of them are German, but they're hyper racist, and even like people of Latin origin.
Yeah.
Super racist. And there's places there that have black people, and the black people there are hyper racist against westernized African Americans.
Yeah.
Because they say that the cultures clash.
Yeah.
In between the two.
And racism, I think, has become just another word to say that I don't like your culture. It's a lot again like.
Well, it's because they use the term racism as a political tool, right?
Yeah.
And they just shove it down your fucking throat
all the time. Yeah.
And they say this is being racist, this is being racist, that's being racist. When it comes down to it, it has nothing necessarily to do with the race. It's just an older term because before different cultures typically were just one race.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the whole world, there's a lot more going in between and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you can have people that are from a certain culture and be white or be black or be Asian, right? Mm-hmm. I know a dude who was born in Jamaica, like 100% Jamaican. He's Asian, right?
That is just a beautiful gift from
Talks
God.
with the accent and everything.
Exactly. But now if he came to Canada and was downtown and was speaking at a super pro Jamaican culture spot, like a restaurant, we'll say.
Yeah.
But all of those people only know Jamaican culture from eating at that restaurant, will accuse him of cultural appropriation. And that's why
that actually happened.
Yeah.
That happened at a college. There was a kid who was born in Jamaica. He's white.
Yeah.
He was wearing dreadlocks, spoke with the accent, and people that were not Jamaican but were black accused him of culturally appropriation.
Yeah. And they have no idea what the lifestyle is like.
And
they
the
have
guy's
no idea
like,
what the culture
and the
is
guy was like, "I'm from Jamaica. What the fuck do you want?"
Yeah, but and I mean, it just shows like how fucking retarded that is. Yeah, I used the R word. I'm allowed to use whatever I want.
I used retarded like a bunch in the past videos.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I was just gonna say I'm tired of tiptoeing around the R word because, I mean, by definition, it is in fact retarded. But and like that's why, and even for like for cultures to exist and to grow and to thrive, like they should be shared, and that helps eliminate like this whole thing. Like,
Whoa.
what? No,
I don't think so.
You don't think cultures should be shared?
I think yes, no, different. I think yes, you can share your cultures.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Any culture that you value, you can bring someone with you to show them that culture and that kind of stuff. But you can't let them bring in their version of your culture onto yours. Then it waters down.
No, yeah, but that's what I mean. But if you don't bring people in and educate them as to how this works, why this works, what the story is behind these traditions, these rituals, these teachings, like I'm not saying that these people are now like a certified member and can go on and do whatever they want with what they've learned, unless. See, there's like a weird area there because for that culture to grow and to be understood, it needs to be shared. And I mean, like there's certain things with specific traditions. If somebody who's not of that culture and has lived that life, like urban culture could be a really great example, right?
But there's lots of different types of urban cultures, though.
and it's so segmented, but people from all denominations have lived in that culture and live in situations that are, maybe you grew up in project housing, you've had to do, you went to a not great school, you've had to overcome adversity that's kind of been similar to this whole diverse group of people, but only one specific group of people gets to dictate who gets to interact with it. Well, when everyone's lived it, and that's the culture, rap music and all of the pop culture that they tend to flock to and is popularized to them, then why can't those people wear dreadlocks or wear their clothes like that or speak the way they speak, especially if that's the environment they've grown up in? They've all shared in that culture. It doesn't have to be on a necessarily like a traditional sense, like indigenous culture.
I wasn't referring to it.
No, but I'm just using that as an example where like that's something that has been passed down through time, lots of ages, whereas pop culture is something, and especially in like those hyper specific groups of like, Toronto, downtown Toronto, like that's, well, you know what I mean? So that's developed and evolved in this super fast way.
Yeah.
Where it's taking what it wants from mainstream media, from people of influence, from what's happening in their certain area, right? And it's evolved fast, and all these kids that grow up in that situation are now privy to that culture. But you're going to have you can't do this, you can't do that. You're white. Oh, you're Indian. Oh, you're black. Oh, you can't just chop that all up.
I think you have to keep in mind too is that cultures, especially the ones you're referring to, are heavily...
All of them.
You're referring to all of them? Okay, well, then I'm referring to specific ones then. So I'm referring to more like urban cultures.
Yeah.
Are heavily, heavily, heavily influenced by artists in the music industry, mainly. Yeah. And that can steer a culture in many, many different ways. And I think because of that, there is such a thing as like a fake culture, where it's the culture itself that they're claiming to be and talk about and behave in a certain way isn't a true culture.
Yeah.
Because it's artificial.
Yeah. But if you have a group of people that now believe in this flagship, even if it's one person or a group of people, that culture to them, despite that the intention is, or the creation was artificial, they did it for like their own personal agenda, but this person believes and relates to it, that culture becomes real to that person.
It becomes real to that person, but they lose her actual culture.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because everyone has a traditional culture that they're part of.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you're from, like you said, downtown Toronto,
yeah,
and your parents, 2-3 generations, you'd say that your culture would be like, Toronto culture, whatever the fuck that is. But at the end of the day, they still have a traditional culture of who they are and who their ancestors are, right?
Yeah.
And it's...
Well, I don't know, because I think a lot of the stories of our past and the traditions and the structure that gave us that, this positive, healthy kind of culture, a lot of that has been kind of washed away through... And
that's where I was getting at. That's the problem there, is that people don't hold on to their cultures. What?
Nothing, I just like the way you're sitting.
Oh, thank you. That's the thing I was saying, is a lot of people don't hold on to those cultures. And they, especially, I want to say like people who immigrated maybe during the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Maybe not so much the 90s. But there was such a heavy push on the parents for their kids to integrate.
Yeah.
And you can integrate to a society, but still hold on to your traditional culture.
Absolutely.
For the most part, there are some cultures that cannot, that aren't. No, they're not feasible in the West.
Absolutely.
And in some ways, I feel bad for those people, like our age and younger, who have lost their entire connection to their original culture.
Yeah.
Right. And because, like you were saying, it is something that they should cherish and hold on to, because that creates proper diversity.
Yeah. Well, right? and it gets back to, and that was kind of my point about being able to express and share and letting other groups interact with you, understand, ask questions without being labeled, without being judged, without being criticized. And again, like, allowing people even just to not experiment with it on their own, but to be involved in it with people that are practicing those things so that they can understand and to learn the story about why. Because a lot of those stories are super cool, and your heritage is probably super cool. Some of it might be horribly messed up, but that's the lens of history. But like looking back at like my family lineage, there's some pretty cool stories that evolved. There's some pretty cool things that happened, and even modern traditions, like in the last 3 generations of things that we still do today. Like even those, it doesn't have to necessarily go back to like a homeland scenario where you originated from or your parents originated from. Like it could be something that's kind of grown and developed.
Yes, it can.
Since those generations of integration have happened.
But again, though, that is still sort of traditional in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because it has that root of it from the homeland.
Yeah.
Type deal. Compared to the culture that we were talking about there, like the fake cultures where there is no root, there is no homeland.
Yeah.
The root is Drake.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good root.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. But there's no connection, there's no deep connection, there's no personal connection.
But that's the thing. When you don't have a deep connection, we don't have a deep root or whatever to whatever it is your culture.
Yeah.
It makes it so that in a cultural sense you're lost.
Yeah.
And
and I think that would play on you emotionally.
Yes,
that would
affects
have
them.
things that come up that would be related to that disconnection.
Yeah. It being not having a root culture
Yeah.
severely impacts the way you interact with the world around you.
Yeah.
Right? Because as much as you say, like for instance, the Scottish or French or whatever culture of your heritage, your lineage, has evolved, right?
Yeah.
You still have these root base, I don't want to say morals, but root based beliefs and behaviors.
Yeah.
Even though like rituals, quote unquote rituals, have changed slightly. Yeah. So in a way, when you're speaking from a cultural standpoint, your behaviors are either acceptable or guided with that root still in mind.
Yeah. But then, so like living in the day and age that we do live in, because there'll be people that are born into, into an environment where there's maybe a lack of culture. Mm-hmm. That'll probably be the best example. You're born into an environment where there's a lack of culture. You don't have a great family unit or support structure. And like I'm using family unit, not necessarily by blood, but who you surround yourself
clan.
with. We can use clan, community. Maybe.
You can use community.
The community's probably a little softer. We'll use community. The community that you've been raised
clan
in.
with a C, by the way.
Yeah. Oh God. Thank you for clarifying that. And if you don't think you can spell clan any other way, you are a gem, and just keep thinking that.
You're so fake on this. I'm just kidding.
But so you're born with a disconnect from culture, right? You don't have anything to really sink your root into.
No, I think you got something to sink it into.
Yeah. And then you maybe you find something or see something, or you're influenced through social media, your environment, maybe the community around you, like, and you're drawn or connected to that. Can that person identify and live within that culture, even though it's something that's so far removed from the norm?
Absolutely, it happens all the time.
Or
right?
if that's a yes, if you are born into a strong traditional culture, and your family supports it, but you become aware of a culture that you again relate to better, can you then just transfer and switch?
Well, that depends. Is it a culture with an actual root?
Yes. Well, and like theoretically, for the basis of this conversation, and it's not just like a fly by night, but it's I want to learn more. I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to live it. This is where
people do it all the time. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time, right? Like there's entire music subgenres that are dedicated to that kind of shit, right? Like people who listen to like metal, for example, they're like deep ingrained in Norwegian culture, right?
Like metal music.
Like metal music, right?
Okay, yeah.
And that's because that's where that music comes from, that environment, right?
Yeah.
So a lot
They're
of time,
so nice all the time. They have to let it out somewhere.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So you'll get like people that aren't even closely related to those cultures
Yeah.
that just love the music so much that they learn the history of the music, and then they learn the history of the countries, and then they fall in love with that, and then they sort of go
Navigate off.
Navigate
but then
off into that.
why do we as a society feel that it's okay to be labeling people as culturally appropriating things? Without
Oh, that's
any...
a political tool. That's different.
Yeah, so then so how would we educate ourselves, or how would we work, or like how do we work this out of our system, like in society and ourselves, where
Well-
if someone is, dressed in traditional, African culture or Jamaican culture or, Oriental culture, like they want to wear a kimono, but again, without knowing that person, we'll jump to the conclusion of you're culturally appropriating that person, even though
Well-
they could be born, raised there, or have dedicated their life and are passionate and in love with that, and they feel that it embodies themselves.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. It's not everyone that does it. It's, for the most part, either black or white people
Yeah.
that are going to a university of some kind, or that are in their mid-20s,
Yeah.
or not even younger. The people in the younger generations are much cooler. But it's,
Well, at least one.
but like,
We have a live audience.
but it's just that group.
No offense, guys. Sorry.
It's just that group that does it.
Yeah. But
Because
I think that,
have you seen those videos where someone will dress up in traditional, I don't know, Japanese wear?
Yeah.
And they're white, and they go to like Chinatown or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they ask people, "Hey, do you like the way I'm dressed?" And they're all like, "Yeah, this is fantastic." And then they go to university, and then they're just like, "No, you're culturally appropriating. It's not right."
so
blah,
it's
blah,
the
blah, blah.
university's problem, and
I'm-
higher education sucks.
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not doing anybody any good. You're
No.
all a bunch of fucking losers.
You are
Shut
dumb.
up.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
Everyone I know that
If
has
you
gone
don't
to
know
university,
anything about those people, just
fuck
shut
'em.
your fucking mouth. For all you university goers, just shut your cocksucker. Because you don't know shit. You never took the time to ask any questions, and you only think about your fucking self, and you're stupid as fuck.
damn. Okay, I hit the nail on the head. Something set him
Yeah,
off
you
there.
just have to show me where the problem is, and then I'll yell at it. Yeah. Stop fucking talking. There we go.
It's not the kids themselves per se. When I'm saying kids, I mean young adults. It's not them themselves. It's the people teaching them.
And that's a scary thing. And like that's bigger than well, it's not bigger, but that's a big part of like this topic, but other topics is the people who we elect to educate the next generation. If
who
they
all have mental health problems,
yeah.
as they do.
Yeah. But I mean that it's again that goes to like that would swing us way off topic, so I'll try and restrain myself. But the people who are in those positions have to be the best of us. They have to be educators. They can't be teachers. You have to be able to learn from your students, to explore topics, to take criticism, like teachers have to be able to ask questions and allow questions be asked. And I know that like again, like that's not that all teachers suck. I've had some great teachers in my time. I've had some great educators in my time.
I'll say it. I don't have a problem saying it. 99% of teachers nowadays suck.
Now, I don't think it's quite that high, but it's
Right,
enough.
98.
But again, it's something that should be, and it's not an easy job. You have a lot of on both sides. You know, I feel like Go ahead.
Now, I know some teachers. One of my I guess he's a great uncle. He works for the school board, Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
Higher up. And he's told me how it works. And it's fucking terrifying.
Okay.
So
Enlighten us.
So he originally was someone that made curriculums, teaching curriculum, what was it? Education curriculums?
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. He was someone that made those. Now, he's semi-retired and came back as contract for something else.
Yeah.
But he still deals with people who do that. Now, the people who are making the curriculums are straight out of university graduates who who never had a job in their life, who have like not masters, but like bachelors or whatever.
Yeah, they're well educated. They're well
in
educated.
like things like feminism or social, not social economics, but social sociology.
Sociology, okay.
Things like philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not someone that's coming in that has a degree in like a master's in human psychology or a master's in mathematics. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's not those people, which originally it was people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the curriculums that you and me went to school with, you looked at them and you could sort of see it, right? Because they would push things like mathematics and science, right?
Yeah.
Now they push things like sociology and fucking, I don't even know, like, they'll do like programming, which is one of the ones they push. That's the only one I've seen like really like jump up. But nowadays it's mathematics has taken a back seat. Scientific study is like a joke. It's not even science anymore. And they're pushing sociology on kids, and it's not even like traditional sociology. It's a made up one.
That's my next point. Is those things in their own aren't necessarily negative things to be teaching, but if the lens that you look through the world is skewed in any way, that can be very damaging in those programs. But I mean, I think one of the greatest tools that should be taught right now is there should be a semester where you just learn about words from the dictionary and you spend all year reading and understanding what those words mean. Because we use things interchangeably too much. And again, like that could be popularized by a subculture that gains mainstream momentum, and then it becomes pop culture, and then it becomes real, and then it influences our culture. And the language that they communicate with now is not the same as the language that everyone else has come to understand or other groups have come to understand, and then it causes conflict.
Are you just saying you're old and don't understand the way people talk now?
That too. That too. You young whippersnippers. Get the F off my lawn.
Bro, no cap.
No cap. Eat shit, fuckface. That's what I grew up on. Sticks and stones, bitch. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't know what the fuck they're saying either. They all sound stupid.
No, but I mean, like, it is stupid. But and there's things like...
Oh, another thing about the education system.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You can't fail anymore. Sorry, that's all.
Which is also ridiculous, because you set people up for failure by not telling them that they can fail. Because then they go out into the world and it becomes a big problem.
And then they don't fail, and then they're just like, it's because I'm black. It's because I'm white. It's because of this. It's because of that.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the fact that you're retarded.
Yeah, you're just a fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, but again, there was nothing in those... You had all of the time to identify this is a problem for them, this is a problem for them. Let's focus on correcting these problems for these. Mm-hmm. And the programs that we do have are subpar.
Yeah.
They put you in a group where you don't belong.
Yeah.
And they just say, oh, you're special needs, so you can go here.
Yeah.
And, like, good luck to you. And then, again, you just sail on through and you get out into the world and be like, I'm special needs. Like, give me what I want. And the answer's like, fuck no. Like, I'm going to hire this guy because he knows what he's doing. Yeah. And then you throw your arms up and, again, you know, what am I supposed to do? And that's another thing that I've seen a huge uptick in is young people going on disability.
Fuck. They're all on fucking disability.
And it's like,
insane. I have depression. Get the fuck out of bed.
Yeah, but and then, you know, this kind of goes back to some of the other topics that we've covered before, and it like
no work ethic.
Yeah, but there's no environment to build those things because we've adopted a culture of this pacifism, porridge eating, fucking nail in the head.
Being a victim is a glorified thing.
Yeah, and it's bullshit, man. You got to be able to grow a backbone, stand up, but on our end, like we should be making sure that those policies and programs are being funded and available to help those people get through those things. But I mean, like diet and exercise have the biggest cure for depression. Like, it's phenomenal, the numbers. I won't even begin to pretend to quote them, but if you look it up, you'll blow your fucking mind.
It's the number one thing that works. I know, yeah.
Yeah, but that could be rooted in our culture, and it's not. at all.
Oh, no.
And
No,
then,
no.
And then we wonder, like, what the fuck is going on? And then the people that have to fucking carry that system, I can understand why some people are like, fuck, like, get it together. Like, I don't understand why you can't just fucking work, because I've been working all my life. My money goes to taxes. Those taxes go to supporting you.
Yeah.
You know, and then it sucks too for the people that really have problems.
Yeah.
Because now those people don't have the resources to get the actual help they need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's insane. And
Absolutely.
like, I've gone through fucking hardships and hard times in my life and applied to be in part of those programs. And they will look you dead in the eye and base it on your age, your physicality, and your sex.
Yeah.
And say, get to fucking work, bud.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit.
No.
But again, like, someone who's fucking 16 years old is just permanently on disability. And again, like, that comes from the culture at home too.
And then those people have kids who will always be on that system too.
Yeah, and I have friends like that who have been, their wives are just been in the system. They're multi-generational, just living off the system. And they know exactly what to do, what times of year, how everything works to make sure that they get the absolute most money out of things. Well, the people that don't want to be there, want to just get their shit together and move on with their life and have a better life, get the shaft.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Now it's glorified to be a victim of whatever the fuck, whatever made up thing there is.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even that, it's hard because the people that deserve that window, and I think, you know, it's okay to be a victim for a designated amount of time. Like, when you go through something, like, it's okay to fucking need to catch your breath and to work through that shit.
There's a difference between having been a victim to something and being a victim.
That's a fair point. Yeah. But I mean, again, like, that small little change in words, that's not how it's fed to us.
No. But so, and on top of the victim mentality, there's also the whole no work ethic of any kind.
Yeah.
Anymore. Like, nobody has any work ethic whatsoever. You ask someone to be at somewhere at 8:00, and they'll.
You're saying this?
No. I thought about it. I thought about it as a joke.
He's saying this because I was 15 minutes late one fucking time. He lives like 6 hours away from me.
I was thinking about it to make the joke, but I was like, no, I won't.
Eat shit, Patrick.
I'm referring to someone else that I know. I was like, it's like, oh yeah, be there at 8:00, and then they get there, and it's like 8:45, and they're still taking a shit.
Yeah.
Right?
IBS is a real thing. Those people should be victims.
I forgot you shit weird too.
I don't shit weird. I just shit a lot. There's a difference. It's because there's plastic in the food.
Don't make me start about that shit, man. They're fucking feeding it to the pigs, bro. Yeah. I'm stopping. Back to the culture shit.
Yeah. But I think, and I mean, we should be really taking the time again to understand what culture means, how it's represented to us, and exploring that topic with people and being able to have a conversation.
And that's another thing, right? When it comes to culture, there are some cultures that just work better with other cultures, right?
Well, yeah. Because, I mean, like, that would be a statistic, right? Like, if you have so many cultures throughout the world, there are going to be things that jive and work better together than other ones. Yeah. There's going to be polar opposites. There's going to be a difference of handling things and doing things.
Absolutely.
But no matter how far apart reasonably cultures get, right? There's some cultures that want to throw spears at you and cannibalize your flesh. Not going to integrate well ever, anywhere, until the apocalypse. Then they'll probably be the number one. But for the most...
I've seen a statistic on that. No, they won't. That's why I burn plastic out back. Come on, global warming.
But for the most part, there will always be commonalities to be found, or a bridge to work with one another. Anyway, that's my spiel on it.
It's a good spiel.
Yeah.
So
farmers should teach in university, I think, is what we got to the bottom.
They don't have time for that. They're actually doing work.
They're working, and they're not fucking depressed.
Yeah. That's another thing. Depression is something that is almost exclusively found in urban environments.
Yeah. Because the outside is great.
Yes. Outside is good. Go outside.
Yeah, go outside.
If you're depressed at home and watching this, grow the fuck up and go outside.
Go outside. Hug a tree.
Like, seriously, hug a tree.
Like nobody's watching. But I mean, again, there's tons of cool science, like walking barefoot. Have you read that article?
Yeah, I don't like it, but like I know it's really good for people to feel the grass and shit.
Yeah. Well, and even
touch grass, bro.
Yeah, just touch grass. I smoke tobacco constantly. That's gotta be idea for something.
Oh my god. Oh, fuck! I throw memes at you, my guy, and you don't catch them.
You guys fucking rolled them. How's that for cultural appropriation?
Yeah, we're good at it. Okay, it's not my fault.
Yeah, it's from the earth.
I hope those. I hope you bought those at a gas station there, bud.
Yeah.
Don't get them on the reserve. Only stupid white man smokes those.
We already know what I smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Players.
John Players. JPR, bro.
JPR. All right, let's talk about what was the other thing? It was cultural appropriation, whitewashing.
Yeah. Whitewashing, color washing. Color washing has to stop. And again, it goes probably back to that root of just bunch of either they think they're educated or they're lazy as fuck and just decided to have an opinion based on watching one thing on YouTube or fucking Instagram or TikTok or whatever. This color washing of stuff, saying that, you know, something's been whitewashed, it just perpetuates the narrative of racism. And it generally doesn't have anything to do, but it doesn't have anything to do with white people on the whole, right? Like Polish, German,
Okay, well,
Irish, Italian, you know, well, Italians.
Here's the thing.
off-white,
Here's the thing. Okay. When a lot of times people are talking about this, they're referring to like Disney movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Disney movies are not entirely, but like almost exclusively based off of the fairy tales of the Grimm brothers.
Yeah.
Right. That's a European thing, like a Northern European thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the characters are gonna be fucking white. You know, that's just how it is. If we're gonna set a movie in like, I don't know, feudal Japan, and the motherfucker's white, that doesn't make any sense. You get what I mean?
Last Samurai, and it was amazing.
One exception, dude.
Give me a minute.
And here's the thing. They want to make movies about black people, right? Like Netflix.
Yeah.
It's like they're fucking boner, right? They're jerking off to that shit every other day.
Yeah.
And they're remaking all these movies, but with black people in them.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever. I don't give a fuck. But how about you tell original stories of black people that actually did really fucking cool shit?
Which exists, 100%.
Well, you were talking about The Last Samurai. There's a black dude that was bought as a slave, and then was bought by a Japanese merchant. He went back to Japan with the merchant. The merchant freed him, and he became a black samurai. That's a real fucking story.
And I would watch the shit out of that. The
Yes.
problem with like those streaming services, they overcorrect constantly. Like what was the Fosters? You have to have every color, every sexual denomination, but that's the focus, and it takes away from the actual story.
They overcorrect, but they have no actual knowledge of the world and history. None whatsoever.
And that's the frustrating part. But I mean, like, and again, like there are so many cool stories for every group of people that are mostly positive. Everyone has their shitty skeletons in the closet, but there's a lot of really cool, not ours, there are for everyone to see. I didn't even think about that imagery, but there we go. All our skeletons out for the world to see. But again, but it's just taking the time and like coming up with an original story, because there's only so many types, and like it's hard to tell a good story, but like they do exist, and like all of the writing's done for you. All you have to do is read a little bit. Stop watching TV and rewriting it. You know, Walt Disney was able to do it and made $1 billion off of rewriting Norwegian fairy tales.
Yes. Yeah. All he did was get rid of the part where the bat stuff happens.
Yeah.
That's true. That's what he did.
Yeah. No, I 1,000% know and agree. And he built a massive franchise, but like the Black Samurai would be awesome. And there's stories like that all over the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, the further back you go in history too, the more prevalent they are. Like there's so much of these wicked things happening.
Yeah.
And then again, like going back to, you know, historically, characters of a historical denomination, just fucking leave that shit, man. Work on your own stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and all people and all cultures have to get, like, you can rewrite the story.
Yeah.
Make it something, make your take on it, but don't use the same name, you know? Like, rebrand it for you. Rebrand that story from speaking from your lens, from your point of view, from your experience, in a way where it's sharing that information without demonizing the world, you know, like
Yeah.
not all of these people are bad or all of those people are bad. Like
Well,
we have to start breaking those things down.
I agree with what you're saying, but at some point, the thing is that whenever you tell a story, whoever's perspective you're telling it from, the other person is the enemy, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's just how it is. But like, you can be historically accurate with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no such thing that, well, there's no problem making, for instance, like a move like
I'm gonna start sweeping around you before we do.
I'm taking out the bail. It's the table, bro.
This is gonna get shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I know. My side's gonna be slanted by the end of it. 2 years down the line.
Not at the rate you're going.
It's okay. I got all these.
Just a new one. Anyway, go ahead with your point.
So yeah, like you can make Okay, so I'll use the American Civil War, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time, when they make a movie of the American Civil War, they make it from the point of the rebels, right?
Yeah.
So, and in that sense, that means the British are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Right? So, if someone in Britain wanted to make a movie about the Civil War, they would pick the British, and they would be
the good guys.
The good guys.
Yeah.
That's just how it is when you make a movie. But you got to make it historically accurate.
Yeah.
And if you do make it historically accurate, it can still be good. You know? And it doesn't have to be a movie where the good guy wins, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, the people that the movies are based on, the actual ending of their story is one of loss, right?
Yeah.
Because like
it's hard to be a good guy.
It's hard to be a good guy. Yeah. Everyone's a bad guy eventually. You know?
Well, and you're always going to be a bad guy in someone else's story.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I think like my point is more just trying to direct that lens away from. And maybe like as a society, we have to educate ourselves to understand that this, even though it's a historically accurate story, it's about these specific people and not the general consensus of thinking and logic for this whole group of people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you mean.
You know, like that's the avenue I was talking about.
Yeah, I get that. And in the same vein, how they say that like, it's most common time you see this, and it's like black people aren't represented, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's not true. And then they'll just make like, I don't know, Black Superman or Black Spider-Man or whatever.
And those things I'm okay with because they had the foresight to create a multiverse where there's infinite amount of possibilities.
But here's my point when it comes to it. They are represented. There are super fucking cool people of color characters, right?
Yeah.
Like Spawn of Hell. Yeah. Right? That's a black guy.
Was Al Simmons?
Al Simmons or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing character.
Yeah.
Like Spawn is so fucking cool.
The coolest.
He's got chains coming out of his back and he like does weird monstery shit and he fights the devil.
Yeah. Who gave him his powers?
Gave him his powers, bro? That's such a fucking good story.
So really, if anything, Al Simmons should probably be an Indian. Or indigenous or aboriginal or First Nation, pick fucking one.
It doesn't fucking matter. It's all the same shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but Spawn is amazing. And there's lots of cool characters like
Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack is awesome. He's kind of a whitish
No, he's Asian.
guy.
He's supposed to be Asian.
Yeah, but I mean, like, have you seen the cartoon?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I love that cartoon.
He's a Western Asianer.
Western Asian?
Yeah, that's Vancouver Asian.
Doesn't matter. He's supposed to be Asian. Yeah. He's not white. He's kind of like beige looking.
Yeah. He's beige looking. Jesus Christ, we're going to be canceled right away. Bayesian.
And here's the thing. There are white Asians, you know, most of Russia, it's Asian, but they're white.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that always threw me for a loop, too.
Yeah.
Because, like, Asia's huge. So
Asia's
aren't technically
huge.
all of those people Asian?
Yes, even some parts of India, or not parts of India, but people that are Indian color. Yeah. They're Asian.
Yeah. It's geography.
Geography.
In all of our conversations, geography is the problem. It's ruined everything. You put too many people in a continent, we can't tell them apart.
Well, I know that's going super off track. Never mind.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. What else is on your thing?
I don't know. Are we done with this? Did we said everything we needed to say?
We can.
There's lots of cool stories about all kinds of different people in history. We'll give them the TDLR or whatever. Stop saying culturally appropriated unless you've actually talked to the person.
I mean, if someone that is not the race, even if someone is the race of the thing you're doing and they're saying you're culturally appropriating,
Yeah.
think to yourself, am I doing this for negative reasons?
Yeah.
Right? And by negative reasons, like, I mean like a really bad reason. If you're doing it because you think it's funny,
Yeah, that's not a great reason.
well, it can be if you're just doing it for comedic effect in a certain situation.
But again, so that's great. Let's break that down. So I think if you were doing that in a controlled environment, like if you were on a stage,
Yeah.
great. If you're doing it outside, not great.
Even amongst your friends.
Amongst your friends, fine. In a closed set, we'll say, for lack of a better word, or a closed area.
I think if you're doing it and you don't think less of the people
Yeah.
that you're making fun of and you're just making an observation, then you're fine.
If that's what you're doing.
Well, yeah, that's
I think it's hard for us to navigate because there's so many dynamics that can go into that. Or it's such a dynamic situation, right? Because some jokes can like there are some lines that you can cross that they do go too far.
well, it's just a matter of like logic at that point.
Yeah, but I think that would be again up to the individual. As like I think that because a sense of humor is so
It's
enigmatic,
something-
right? Like it's so different and alive in different people. Because things that I found funny when I was like 4, I still think are funny.
I was gonna call you on your bullshit.
Yeah, but like 1 or 2 of those things from 4 aren't as like I don't like jingling keys anymore. I think
sure?
jingling keys are stupid. Like it'll keep my attention, but I'm not gonna giggle, right? Like, so I think that's the problem. But I mean, again, we have to be accepting of and like just say like, nah, that was a miss, and just let it be a miss. But I think we can use some foresight as to, is this the best place for me to be throwing this out? Is this the best time for me to be putting this out here?
Yeah, but that just goes back to my logic thing.
Yeah, but again, like,
yeah,
and that's what I mean. Like,
You're just expanding.
yeah, but
Which is good, which is good.
Yeah, I think comedians, like, if a comedian is working and he's on a stage or on a set,
Yeah.
and you know he's going to be there and what he talks about, he should have free reign to make mistakes and to use his craft. Right?
Yeah,
I think
but that's the whole point of being a comedian. That's the thing. I once saw someone say that like a comedian is someone that's able to tell the truth without any repercussions.
yeah, but that's not the case anymore.
No.
There's tons of repercussions,
Yeah.
and their careers get fucking
Yeah.
zeroed.
Yeah.
It's probably Clinton's fault.
It is. There's like something like that happened in Quebec where this comedian made fun of a kid.
Was he French?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because they're not funny.
Actually, I think you like this joke a lot. It was this dude who made fun of, and I actually don't like this comedian, but I'm on his side for this one.
Yeah.
He made fun of a kid that was dying. He was on like a Make-A-Wish type deal, and he made a joke about the kid not fucking dying
Yeah.
because he survived not
no,
dying.
okay.
He survived his Make-A-Wish, and
Yeah.
he made a joke about that, and he got lynched by the media. And he went to court. He went to the Canadians Human Rights Tribunal
Okay.
over it. He eventually
went up
won.
there.
Yeah, it went. It was,
Yeah.
it was super high up, and he won eventually because he didn't do anything wrong. But the fact is that people were trying to lynch him for making a joke, and it's not like the kid's dead. The kid was fine. The kid's alive.
He made it?
The kid survived. Yeah, the kid didn't die.
But like is alive and not like out
He's
of-
alive now and fine. Yeah, he survived because he hadn't made a wish because he had some sort of fucking disease and he was gonna fucking die. He ended up beating the disease.
Good for him.
And then the comedian who was the one that made a Make-A-Wish for him or something, he made a joke about the Make-A-Wish that kid had.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of like, shouldn't he get a refund? Type deal. Because he didn't die, right?
Yeah.
So either you kill him or you get a refund. and the comedian went to Human Rights Tribunal about it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's ridiculous. It's a
But
joke.
where did he say the joke?
On stage.
Yeah, see, but then like that's to my point, like shut up. Like he's
Yeah.
doing his job.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and I know that like especially now where everything can feel so cutting and that we feel so entitled to have an opinion about absolutely everything. If you don't like his joke, don't support that fucking comedian. Don't watch his shit. Don't comment on his stuff. Just move along.
Did you see that some people bought tickets to a Dave Chappelle show?
To get up and fucking walk out and protest and shit, that one?
Well, yeah, they bought tickets to Dave Chappelle's show, waited till Dave Chappelle said something that they didn't like, and then they wanted to protest him. It's just like, it's Dave fucking Chappelle.
But that's what I mean.
He's gonna say shit inflammatory. That's his whole shtick.
My buddy likes to say that we go to watch comedians to get the truth, and we watch the news to laugh now.
Yeah.
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 But again, like, if you know what those people are like, don't go there.
Yeah.
And if you're, like I like watching the open mic nights and seeing comedians. And I mean, sometimes they're funny as fuck. And sometimes they're just, you can tell when they're pandering to an audience.
Like, okay, so Joe Rogan, I don't think he's a funny comedian. I don't think he's funny.
He's got a couple of funny jokes.
I don't think he's funny.
I would not pay to see Joe Rogan do stand-up.
Yeah. I wouldn't pay to see him do anything, honestly. Dude, I'm sorry. Like, okay, if you want to talk about Joe Rogan, like his podcast, the only reason it's super good, he's really good at just, and then what happened to whatever guest he has.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I think he asks some pretty serious pointed questions and does a fair amount of homework and research, and I think he deserves a little bit more credit than that. Yeah, I think he deserves a little bit.
All right.
I think it's just I think the reason why Joe Rogan is so popular is because people still know him from Fear Factor and are still trying to adjust to him being bald now. That's the real reason for success. If we shaved your head, the views would go fucking through.
Don't shave my head. We are not shaving my head.
Yeah, bounce back from that, fucker.
Maybe we could shave you.
Eat shit.
Oh, so we can shave me, but not shave you?
No.
Why not?
Because I would look horrible.
Can we shave him?
No, she loves my hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nobody wants to, like, I'd look like patient zero at that point.
You already
like,
kind of do.
Look.
Actually, I say that, but I don't mean it.
I know, because we've already gone through this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I might be flawed in, but looks isn't one of them. Yeah. Anyway, so what were we talking about? So I think we've done with the cultural.
We're done with the cultural.
Yeah.
Move on.
So,
move on. Next
Stop
topic.
talking about color. Everyone's a fucking human being. Get to know a person. And if they're a piece of shit, they're an asshole. It doesn't have anything to do with the color of their skin.
No. Your culture is probably better than theirs, so move on.
Yeah. Just be the bigger person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is on your little list?
I got a lot of stuff.
Pass it over. I want to pick something.
From my our professional notes.
You worry so much about the professional part of it.
I just want people to be entertained, and
I know. I do too. I think it's good like this. Karen and daycare.
Okay, daycare. I wanted to do some homework on this, but we can break into daycare. So
Sure.
Daycare has come in. I feel like we should cut there, and this will be a new segment.
Sure, I'll do it like that if it makes you happy.
And this because if they're so, or you can cut this part out. But so daycare, and more specifically, the cost of daycare. Okay. So this isn't a new issue. This is something that's been going on, I think, for a long time. The cost of daycare is insane. And depending on where you go, I'll use an example for a buddy of mine. These people have great jobs.
Yeah.
He's an awesome construction worker. His wife's an amazing lady that works as a nurse. Mm-hmm. They do everything you're told. They're on point. And they bring in a decent wage together.
Yeah.
They
middle
pay
class household, essentially.
It's a middle class household. But they're a middle class household. It's $55 a day for this kid. $55 a day for one kid. $55 a day. Isn't that? But that's not. And this isn't unique to him or his area.
No,
I've had a super extensive career in construction. I have dated ECEs, and daycare teachers, thinking that they were nice. Never the case. But they talk about, and it's daycare, and I give them a hard time, but daycare is not an easy job. It's not ice road truckers, but it's not an easy job. And they don't get paid very well.
Okay.
Like the staff themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's a problem across the board. It's a problem for the people that are paying for, but I mean, you're only going to get a certain type of people if you're not incentivizing the right kind of clientele, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I can make $3 more working at this job, even if it's not what I'm passionate about, it's the only way, especially in this current like economic climate, I'm going to go over here to try and make ends meet. But we harp on things like the government and their budgets a lot. We were talking about black budgets, right? And that's like this endless pool of money to go into certain resources and research and development.
Yeah.
That range, like, it's a black budget because they go into the trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Taking just a percentage, like a small 1% of that, you're not thinking about not paying for daycare, but with that 1%, you can reduce those fees to $30 an hour, have better staff and better facilities. You know?
So I agree with what you're saying. And to touch on the exact topic you were just on before I go off into my rant, even like, you know, they bring in a lot of immigrants, the government, to help with the fact that population's not growing. Well, if they put a little bit of money of the money that they're putting into housing immigrants, into daycare, it would incentivize people to have more kids. One of the main reasons, one of the main reasons people don't have kids now is because they can't afford it. They can't afford any aspect of it. And so if you help remove some of these expenses by, you know, lowering the cost of fucking daycare, it would help encourage people to have kids.
Absolutely. Well, and if you think, if they were saving $20 a day, how much money that equals out into the end, at the end of the month, end of the year. I don't want to do the math on air because it'll take me way too fucking long. That money's still going to go back into spending. They're going to buy shit for their kid. They're going to spend money on going on vacations and doing things. Like, that money's going to come back in, and everything is taxed. So you're still going to get your piece. But you're going to have a happier, healthier society and a growing, healthy, happy society.
You know, I have a weird theory on it, is that the society, even if they were to have kids, wouldn't be growing fast enough for them. I have that theory.
Why?
Because I think they want more population right now instead of waiting 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, we know when you try and inflate a system like that, there's too many variables and it ultimately will collapse.
Yeah.
And like, we're seeing those things, like those tears in that system, in that logic coming
It's exactly
through.
like Rome. That's what happened to Rome.
It grew too big too
Grew
fast.
too big too
That's
fast
why
and they
orgies are not a socially accepted thing
Actually, the orgies were between all just men.
Just men?
Yeah. Bro, back then it was like, okay, I forget what it was called, but it was something along the lines of men are for pleasure, women are for reproduction. Something like that. It was something like that. Yeah, no.
They were very what is it? Progressive.
They were very progressive. Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, and here's the thing. One of the reasons that their armies fought so well together was because
The men loved each
The
other.
men loved each other and were constantly
Yeah.
trying to impress each other. Everyone was fucking gay. So
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah, they fought hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to impress his buddy. It's like, hey, check this out, big man.
Yeah. Yeah. I just killed like 8 gulls. Yeah. Yeah.
If ever I was like a
Oh,
massive...
can you imagine the amount of like gay innuendo and jokes?
Yeah.
Like, watch me swing this hammer.
Yeah, if ever
Yeah.
I become like some sort of dictator, I'm going to have like my personal bodyguards just be an unbelievably flamboyantly gay men.
I feel like so that's where I think that the line is different. I don't think, like, I think that Roman army was still very much standing in a masculine energy.
Oh, yeah.
They
that's what
weren't
I mean.
like, hi.
No, I want the high, but I also want him to be 400 pounds of muscle.
That's like,
That's terrifying.
on so many levels.
Yeah, could you imagine? You're coming to try and assassinate me, and then this big dude who's 350 pounds, pure muscles, 8 feet tall, comes up to you and is like, I don't think so.
This is our land.
Yeah, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I'm done.
yeah, take it. I'm moving.
Yeah.
What an interesting culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, though, like, that they loved each other.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was by design, because we know, like, those people in power and governments, nothing is by accident.
You want to know something really funny? The American government, the CIA, they used a pheromone weapon on enemy forces. This was in the 80s, I think, that made the men gay.
Really?
And it backfired because the men fought harder for each other.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, that breaks down, like, that whole argument of, like, sexuality not being a choice.
It's a hormone thing.
It's a hormone thing. But I mean, like, if you can artificially create that,
Yeah.
like, I feel like there's some kind of discussion that has to be had there on its...
Oh, well, we can talk about it if you want.
I don't have enough scientific information to dive down into the hormones of sexuality. But
Oh, well, it's basically, there's like different hormones, and some of them make you feel love. And now love is a chemical imbalancement in your brain,
Yeah.
caused by hormones. Basically, the weapon, the way it worked was they pumped you full of the male equivalent to the love hormone. So you essentially, because soldiers are typically all in the close proximity to each other,
Yeah.
they'll smell each other's hormones, right?
Yeah.
But when it's mixed in with the love hormone, it causes the imbalancement in your brain, and you fall in love with the dudes that are around you.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it works. Now, when
I can't wait to go to, like, I'm going to start signing up for yoga classes and just be like,
well, you
downward dog.
there's all sorts of stuff you can do with that shit. So I told you never to take chocolate when I'm around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you can do, that's one trick that you can do to make someone fall in love with you is every time you see them, they're around them, you hand them chocolate.
Yeah.
Because chocolate releases the same chemicals in your brain as sex. So
Yeah, but important distinction for anyone who wants to experiment with this stupid fucking, what is the chocolate?
yeah,
Is it has to be real chocolate.
has to be real
It's
chocolate.
not
yeah.
just spun sugar
No.
covered in brown shit.
No,
Like,
don't do that.
You
Don't.
gotta get, like, cacao.
Go get cacao
Yeah.
and like feed it to them, and you can make them love you.
Yeah.
Just by doing that. But yeah, I forget exactly where we were going off that there, but
I think that's a great way to fucking end whatever
Yeah.
we were fucking talking about. Feed people chocolate and they'll love you.
yeah. Oh, we're
Yeah.
talking about
and
hormones.
and gay armies always win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Fuck, that was a really big swing, I think, on whatever we were talking about. Yeah.
I was talking about my femboy army.
Your femboy army.
Yeah. And daycare.
Yeah. We went from daycare to gay armies.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
That's what's fun about it.
Yeah, everything's connected.
Yeah.
I think if this podcast will teach you anything, it's that everything is connected.
It is.
It is. Why do you have to? It doesn't have to be ominous. It can be.
It is ominous. It's very ominous.
It'd be awesome.
Yes. Okay. So, daycare. It's expensive. People don't want to pay it. If they lowered the price of it with government funding, people would be more inclined to have kids. Bam. Okay. That's where I was.
Yeah.
So, so people are more inclined to have kids, which will then fix the immigration problem, which would then, in 20 years or so, right, which would then fix the immigration problem and the population crisis. Because that's the reason the West is importing so many immigrants, is because they say there's not enough people for the work. What the actual situation is, the labor for the work is too expensive when it's people that live here.
Yeah.
So basically, you bring in migrants, and they'll do the work for a lot cheaper,
Yeah.
and that fixes the problem, right?
Yeah. Well, and then that goes back to the cultural issues, because a lot of cultures will support or are used to living in multi-generational homes, right? And then they'll work hard, like they'll not so much harder.
It's a part
but
of their
work,
power.
Yeah, they'll work together in securing. But again, a lot of them have really good incentives. So that would be like my hook for that, where I get caught up in it, is how they incentivize immigration. So I used to work for a construction company, and they were all Albanian and Turkish immigrants.
Yeah.
We were good friends, but we'd speak frankly about how
Yeah.
everything kind of arose.
Yeah.
Their government teaches them what to say, do, and how to act before they apply.
Yeah.
So that they can get the maximum amount of money to start a life here.
Yeah.
But when we need assistance, especially, again, going back to, like, if you fit a certain box, you are put out in the cold. You get nothing.
Yeah.
It is your duty to just carry on. And, like, there is an argument to that, where it is our duty, I think, is to shoulder Fuck, there is.
It is
cut this part out.
Yeah. No, I'm leaving it in.
There, you do have a duty to carry on, but I think that's where that cultural difference will start to represent itself, and that racism will starts to boil through too. Because why can't I have those same benefits to raise my family, take care of my family? I'm trying to do everything I can to work in your system, but this person can just come from here and then receive all of this stuff.
Because the government fucking hates you. They want to get rid of you and replace you with hyper cheap labor.
Yeah. But I mean, it will only be hyper cheap for so long, especially if the rates of everything go up, because those people will demand a raise to live too.
And guess what? They'll replace them
with the next thing. But I mean, that system will burn out.
They don't care if it'll burn out or not. Because, okay, so if the WEF, because that's who we're essentially talking about at this point, because they're like the leading factor behind all of it. They don't care because in their minds...
Soldier on. Got it. Sorry.
What?
Don't make me say it again.
Because things like AI and robots will take over most basic manual labor jobs. As much as we say they won't, they will. It might not be in 15 years or in 10 years, but they will.
Well, it's already
starting, bro. I went the sushi place next to my fucking house. It's a robot that comes and brings me the food, not a waitress.
Yeah.
Which is honestly fucking cool. I love that little robot.
You're part of the problem.
Thank you. I try to be. Whatever can get the white man off my fucking land.
Piece of shit. I'm just mad because we won.
You won because you couldn't follow the fucking treaties.
Like we won because you guys can't fucking read. That's why language is important.
Yeah, so this... What?
Nothing. Just laughing at your honesty.
So they don't necessarily care if the system that they're doing will burn out, because at the end of the day, that's sort of the plan. Yeah. You know, reel me in. I'm going to go too far off.
No, go.
Okay. So, if you
we'll
really
just slap an outro and stick this back.
It's like, so
are we getting into like the reason of like, are we talking about capitalism at this point?
We can talk about capitalism. Yeah.
Because well, like the way capitalism was invented, like if well, this is kind of funny, but like if capitalism was all run by a robot, it would be a beautiful system, because capitalism was created.
You'd be killed if it was
capitalism was created so that you could have schools, hospitals. People would only have to work a certain amount of years before they could hit retirement, and then we would also have enough money to take care of our aging population. It only sucks because of the human element and greed. That's the reason why capitalism isn't sustainable and doesn't work. But it was meant to build an access quickly so that we could sell the access and support our nation, or however you want to look at it.
A few years ago, I remember talking to someone, and we did a lot of stuff related to capitalism. And one of the things we came up with was capitalism is only good at a certain size of a nation or population.
Also agree.
And you should have a capitalistic view when it comes to world, but when it comes to your country, it should be more socialist. Yeah. To a degree. Socialism is bad, but to a degree.
And I think that's something that we overlook, because we take, even if those bodies of government will say do something correctly, like all of them do a few things really well, but if you talk about those things, you're labeled as that. Oh, communist, socialist, capitalist.
Fuck the commies.
But I mean, they have elements inside there that are working, and I can't imagine it being to the point where we can't integrate some of those policies to be effective.
You can. You absolutely can. The thing is that the leaders of our countries don't care per se about our countries because they're all part of other larger unions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it be the North Atlantic Union, the EU, WEF, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they're all part of a larger one.
And none of those are about supporting
The individual person.
The individual person,
Yeah. So, in situations like that, you don't get good systems for us because the system at the end of the day is meant to benefit them, right? If you look, you want to talk about fucking economics, man? Like South America, Argentina, 2 days ago shut down their banks.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Like,
But I don't live in Argentina, so I'm going to laugh at it.
yeah, I know.
And it's so, and it's, that would be scary to be Argentinian, and hopefully it's resolved quickly and nobody has to like lose their shit for it. But I mean, it's also insane to think about. And wasn't it like Argentina where they also would mine currency in video games?
Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela.
In Venezuela, the Venezuelan dollar, whatever it is, was worth less than a RuneScape gold piece.
Yeah.
Then they were mining RuneScape gold because that was worth more
Than their money.
than their money.
Which is insane.
Yeah, but that's what happens.
I bet you none of the parents in Venezuela are shitting on you for playing video games. Go.
we need to eat.
I don't know.
I don't know why they
The
have like
accent is-
Ugandan accents.
They emigrated. Yeah. Play well.
Do you know the way to RuneScape?
Yeah.
But you know, like, and here's the thing: Venezuela. We'll do Venezuela real quick. Yeah. Venezuela is just such a fucked up situation. Again, Venezuela is part. Its president was put into power by, I think, the Americans, and again, somehow connected to the WEF.
Yeah.
And everything he did was to support their shit. Look at their country.
Yeah.
Except instead of doing it over the course like of 100 years, like they're doing here.
Yeah.
They did it in like 5 years.
Yeah.
And look at the state of it. People were literally eating each other. Like there was cases of cannibalism because there was no food. The government told doctors that they were not allowed to say the reason of someone dying, especially babies, was starvation. So the doctors had to come up with other shit because it was illegal to say that a child died of malnourishment.
That's so crazy.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
But
I mean, for people, like, when you hear that news, you gotta, I can understand why so many people are like, no. Like, that's, it's bullshit. But I mean, a lot of that has been...
It's true. It's 100% true.
It's 100% true. And it's based in fact that's, like, from a reliable source that's been covered by real journalists and real, like, professionals, real whistleblowers. And we still have such a hard time digesting it.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Yeah. Unlike people.
Long pig.
Long pig.
But yeah, if we go back to Argentina now, this is happening to Argentina, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Fred's girlfriend's in Argentina, right? So we have some vested interest in what's going on in Argentina for her safety.
Yeah.
But Fred was in Argentina too. Apparently, in the month that Fred's been back, things have like tripled in cost in their currency.
Yeah.
And I don't think, as an outsider, you're allowed to go to Argentina right now. I don't think you can fly to it. I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
But the fact that they had to shut down their banks because the banks... Okay, so I'm going to use Canada here.
Yeah.
In Canada, the banks right now, you should, like, if you're someone who's invested in stocks or financial stuff, you might already know this, but Canada right now is one of the worst places to invest money in, especially banks. You don't want to invest in banks because the banks have put out loans for things like houses and cars and all that that are more than people can pay back.
Yeah, it's a bubble.
The numbers that they have are impossible for people to pay back. So no matter what happens, the bubble will pop. And the banks will not get back their money from these loans, which means you won't get your money.
Yeah.
So if you have money invested in banks, if you have your actual money in a bank, which is all technically an investment by itself,
Yeah.
you could wake up one day and the money in your savings account gone.
Gone.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the contract you sign when you open up a bank account.
Yeah.
And that they did here in Canada is the exact same thing that they did in Argentina. They gave out loans that the people can't pay back. And now they shut down their banks.
Yeah.
So anyone that had money in the banks, gone. And if you think that can't happen here, you're so fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's the exact same path, it's just taking a little more time.
Yeah. Well, and we've had that happen in
2009? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, I was going to say like more developed countries. I don't know if that's like the PC term, where banks have started.
First world countries?
Yeah, first world countries.
Yeah.
That have started shutting down. Do you know like the first world thing was just referring to like
yeah
they were yeah
okay. It's again another thing that's been taken out of context and people refer it to.
Should we explain? You want to explain it to our audience?
No.
Okay. Well, I will next time.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, it's not so much related to how advanced they are. It's just where they fell.
Yeah, it's where they fell on the economic scale.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just explained it.
There we go.
Yeah, but. So, yeah, and you're right. This has happened in first world countries before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an example right now. Yeah. Germany. It happened in Germany.
That's the one.
It happened in Germany, and it might happen in France with the way things are going right now.
Yeah.
And because here's the thing: these systems, they can fall apart very, 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 very quickly.
Yeah.
The money that banks are putting out and that need to have come back in per day is ridiculous. And just minor changes across the globe can drastically affect it.
Yeah.
Right? Like embargoes, like for instance, the war in Ukraine. Do you remember when the war first fucking started? The price of gas, because most of our gas comes from Russia.
Yeah.
Like it went up to like $2 a liter, right? That's in context. That's fucking unbelievable for Canada, right?
Yeah.
It was like at $1.10 maybe before.
And there's some other asshole that's involved in how that's.
Well, Trudeau dropped 3 different taxes on it, but that's again just him squeezing the shit out of the actual civilians.
Yeah.
But it's just super minor things like that you think are a world away from you can completely flip your world upside down.
Yeah. Well, and none of us are prepared for anything, and I think the pandemic showed us how unprepared we are for shit to go sideways.
Dude, the pandemic just showed to me how the zombies win.
But so, like, even speaking to that, like, it's nice. We have to start living within our means a little bit more, being a little bit more progressive with our savings, progressive with our learning how money operates, where to put it, how much to keep, how assets work, how liability works, how your banking contract or investment contracts are set up, where your money goes if something does take a shit.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, like, it'll be severely annoying to see us come out of something like that, start to get back on track, to get hit with another curveball, and everyone go right back to the same train of thought. This is fucking bullshit. No one could see this coming, blah, 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 even though when there's multiple sources and everybody's telling you,
this is coming, this
is coming, calm down, relax, save your money, rest, put it in a fucking mattress.
Yeah. So and like, some people now they see the banks, because if you're on the stock market, you can see that all the Canadian banks are going down, right?
Yeah.
So some people are throwing their money in them right now because they're thinking it's going to go back up. It's like, listen,
it can hit zero.
Those banks are going to keep dropping. Wait until the curve comes up.
Yeah.
Like, because those banks will only survive if the Canadian government decides to bail them out.
I think a lot of people in my generation and down don't understand how the recession works, right? They don't understand how.
I don't think they understand how their money's worth something.
I don't think so either. Well, and this goes back to the States, and I know people, shit all over the forefathers because of, they're looking through a modern lens at time, but they wrote in that gold, silver, I think gold and silver were the only things of value, and that's how you based your money.
You want to...
And we ran with that for a long time. But then a lot of countries operated that way. But then they sold all of their gold and silver.
Yeah. You want to hear a little funny tidbit?
Yeah.
Not going to be a long
Yeah.
segue. You know, one of the things that JFK was going to do?
What?
Bring back
Helmets.
he should have worn one. He was going to bring back the gold standard.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a still side note.
Yeah. I wonder if his predecessor will.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Just again, do it from Zoom.
Do it from Zoom. Yeah. Yeah. Don't be sitting in any balconies, no cars. Yeah. Hard top for life.
But yeah, so the American dollar. Oh, this is another good thing. A lot of the Americans' money comes from the fact that it's worth something in oil.
Yeah.
And this oil is actually from Saudi Arabia doing deals. But recently, about a month ago, for the first time ever, that deal was not done under the US dollar. It was done under the yen.
Yeah.
And that, I know that doesn't sound like anything, but for your money, that's terrifying. You could lose literally everything overnight.
Yeah.
If they decide to switch from the American standard, as in the American dollar, to the yen.
Yeah.
If they switch overnight, America becomes a second or third world country in terms of its GDP.
Yeah.
And that
What's the GDP for the people that wouldn't understand?
GDP, it's like your standing in the world in terms of like what your money's worth.
Yeah.
Like like
Gross
Canada.
domestic product is what
Sorry?
Gross domestic product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's basically what you're worth.
Your financial standing globally.
Yeah. So and
In super watered down layman's terms.
it doesn't need to be complicated to understand. You know,
That's
if the GDP goes down, if the world stops trading for oil in the American dollar, your cheeseburger is now going to cost you $50.
Yeah.
That's basically how it works.
Yeah.
And
Test tube chicken is going to start looking a lot better.
yeah, you're testing those bugs. You won't have a choice. You're going to catch the crickets on the street to eat.
Yeah. Well, and this is a different segue, but it's related to the whole food thing, and I wanted to bring it up a few conversations ago. I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And growing up, her family had that if you don't eat your supper, like, you don't get anything else.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case may be. You don't eat your lunch, you don't eat your breakfast.
Yeah.
Until you eat that, And then growing up, they were on a road trip, and they bought McDonald's, and they said, like, you don't get anything else until you eat your McDonald's.
Yeah.
And she fucking hated it. Whatever. Yeah. I think there was eggs and stuff in it. Like, wasn't her cup of tea.
Yeah.
But when we were talking, she looking back at that, saw it as this traumatizing kind of act in her life. And it's funny to think that only 2 generations ago, maybe 2 generations ago, 3 generations ago.
Depends where you are.
It depends on where you were. But those people were watching kids and parents, their neighbors, literally starve to death because, and like, it's not long ago, but they were starving to death because they had zero food.
Yeah.
So I think we really, like, even though we have to navigate this lens of trauma and everybody's, perception is valid, I think that the importance of telling those stories historically and where we were not long ago and how things unroll or have kind of laid themselves out recently. And it's not to fearmonger or like, but having some context as to why it's important to eat what we have and not be wasteful. Mm-hmm. Will help dissolve the fact that this becomes a traumatic instance because you're educated so that you understand why things are happening. Mm-hmm. I had another point to that, but that's where I'll leave it. Yeah.
Back to your generation thing, like you were saying, 2 generations ago, you didn't know if you were going to survive winter.
Yeah.
And that it's crazy how fast the generations can change, right? It went from we might have to eat grandma to survive winter to I don't want to eat McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then it being a traumatic event.
Like a scarring event.
Yeah.
Like before, a scarring event was we were surrounded by wolves and then Bigfoot came down and tried to attack us.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's just like Big
Yeah.
Macs are gross.
Yeah. Well, they are gross.
They are gross. They are
But
gross.
I mean, it's still better than having to eat grandma or starving to death.
Yes, it is better. Yes, I agree.
And old people are gamey, just if you want to know. So don't eat them.
You got to get the young tender ones.
Young Thunder.
Tender.
Tender.
Yeah. You know, baby back ribs. It's called baby for a reason.
Yeah, baby back ribs. Gross. All right. Oh, I think that's good. Are you satisfied?
Sure.
I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to? Do you want to talk about how many countries are invested in those wars overseas?
Which ones?
All of them.
All of them. Sure.
Do you want it? That'll be all you. I don't have anything to.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so if you want, we can start with the Ukrainian war. That's whatever the
Maybe
one.
we'll circle back. I think my driver's getting a little bit tired.
No, I just gave you the finger.
Oh,
Oh, well, if you guys want to go, we can stop.
do you want to go? Are you okay?
You're fine.
Okay, we're fine.
All right.
All right. War in Ukraine.
War in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine, was a long time coming. Putin wanted to rebuild the Soviet Union, and then there's a few other stuff going on there. Not hyper important, but that's the basis for that war.
I think one thing people forget a lot about too, and it's not that whole situation for the people sucks. But Ukraine was also
A bad guy.
and super corrupt.
Yeah,
You know,
hyper corrupt.
So like again, like
it just
there's
came out
a spectrum to all of these things, and we get one side of information, and I think we can all sympathize for people who are losing their homes, who are like us, that go to work every day, who are just trying to build a life for them. But again, it's why it's so important for us to learn and understand what's actually happening
And
in our home, so that we can try and circumvent these awful things from happening.
it's not just and here's the thing, it's not necessarily Ukraine that's corrupt, it's more Zelensky.
Really?
It came out 2 days ago that he pocketed $400 million of the money that was sent to help Ukraine's war effort.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So it's not like he's a poor man, and he's pocketing some of the relief funds to help with the war effort.
Yeah.
And if you want to start talking about all the things that Ukraine is doing wrong in terms of, Zelensky's doing wrong, we can play with it, you know. If we want to talk about Azov, or is it Azov or Astov Battalion, which is like one of the special forces battalions belonging to the Ukrainians, like, you know, everyone's supporting them and all that kind of stuff, but they'll also say in the same sentence, "Fuck Nazis." Azov Battalion is admitted Nazis. Like,
Yeah.
they're people that were, Germany, when Germany fell, so the Nazis that were there went to different places.
Yeah.
Some of them went to Ukraine, and Azov Battalion is the children of those people.
Yeah.
And they still have the Nazi sympathization. You can see they wear the patches of the swastikas, or even some of them have Taliban patches, right?
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that because they're on our side. Fair enough, they're on our side, so we can ignore it. But
Which is just but there's a level of ridiculousness.
There's a level
that's
of
just
ridiculousness,
so fucking insane.
yeah,
Like,
and Ukraine, and we'll harp on Russia for committing war crimes.
Yeah.
Ukraine is committing war crimes too, man. Like, heavy war crimes, just as bad. Shooting wounded and shooting on non-combatants.
Yeah.
They're both doing it, and I think people because Ukraine is a proxy for the West versus Russia. Pretty much since the Cold War, the Americans have been in one shape or form in a proxy war with Russia.
yeah.
Whether they did it in Afghanistan, they did it they did it all over the Middle East, and they've done it in Vietnam, and now they're doing it in Ukraine. Yeah. And now the most recent war that just blew up in Africa, they're doing it in Sudan.
Yeah.
Which again, we don't even acknowledge that, right? And and on Russia's part, there are people that have been fighting against the Americans since the start. You know, like Wagner Company, that's something a lot of you hear about on the news. those guys were in Afghanistan in the 80s. Those guys were, or like in the 90s, the Black Hawk Down there, whatever, that battle.
Yeah.
They were there. They're in Sudan. Azov Battalion and Wagner Company have had fighting each other in Sudan, but they're both, the one's Russian, the other one's Ukrainian. What the fuck are they doing in Sudan? Well, it's a fucking proxy war between the two countries, right? And we don't talk about it. We pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah.
But what's going on really is U.S. versus Russia.
Yeah.
That's what all this is. And these small countries and the people in them are just caught in the crossfire of all
Yeah.
that, right? Like, and I can explain why Russia is in Sudan, right?
Yeah.
Russia's in Sudan because Wagner first went in there under the guise of a mining company. They bought, and it's for gold and oil. They went
What
in
a
there.
surprise.
Yeah, they went in there as the guise under the guise of a mining company, and they basically bought up all these gold mines and these oil wells, and they were sending it back up to Russia. The Americans found out. Oh, and the way they got in there, I want to make sure I cover everything. The way they got in there, the dude that was in charge of the country at the time went to the Russians, were like, hey, listen, I'll give you access to the gold and the oil. Mm-hmm. And in return, you ensure that I keep power, because he actually got into power in a very sketchy election.
Yeah.
And
Also surprising.
ooh, surprising, right? So then Putin was like, I bet.
Did you just watch BET before you decided to have this meeting?
Yeah. So Putin sends down Wagner under this mining company. I forget the name. It's called My something. And
My golden oil. That's
yeah,
what it's called.
it's something like that. Yeah. They went under there under the guise of that, and then Wagner Company acted as enforcers or whatever, and used to calm the dissidents of the civilians, and he kept his power. Now, in the past couple months, I guess relations between the leader of Sudan and Putin fell apart.
Yeah.
And Putin was like, you know what? Fuck you, we're going to get rid of you. And I think it's the general of the Rapid Response Force of Sudan was approached by the Russians and was offered a better deal.
Yeah.
And then basically Putin told him, if you start a rebellion, Wagner Company, i.e. the Russians, will back you.
Yeah.
And so he was like, aight. And he started a rebellion. And this is the Sudan War that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Now,
How did the states get involved?
the states, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with the states. They are involved.
So they're not involved.
They're not involved. That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Because the United States likes to play their little cards really close to their chest, right?
Yeah.
So the United States is... So do you know the Global Response Force? The CIA's... Okay. So, no, it's Global Response Staff. Staff sounds a lot nicer than Force.
Yeah.
So the CIA has this...
Marketing.
Yes. The CIA has this army of hyper-specialized soldiers called the Global Response Staff.
Yeah.
And they're in Sudan.
Okay.
And they are in open conflict with the Russians or Wagner Company. Now, Azov Battalion is actually in Sudan as well, because that's sort of how the Americans are involved there, with Azov Battalion dragged them into it, and the Global Response Staff is there, and the Americans want to pull out the embassy before they actually send troops. They're mobilizing troops. They should have troops down there within the end of the week. But that's besides the point. So Azov Battalion knew that the gold and oil that was coming out of Sudan was what's financing the Ukrainian war, because outside of China, Russia doesn't have that many trade partners right now.
Yeah.
So they need gas and they need money to keep fighting. And most of the money was coming from there. So Azov Battalion, fine, let's send some dudes down there and attack Wagner Company and the mining operations.
Yeah.
So that was the first real battle that took place, was over that. Wagner Company more or less held them back.
Yeah.
Because the Azov Battalion didn't send that many dudes. I guess they didn't. They underestimated how
Yeah.
entrenched.
Somebody in the intelligence department got fired.
Yeah. So they got pushed back, and now, so the rebels and Russia are trying to do a beeline for the American embassy. You know how, like, on the news, even on the news today, I was watching it when I was eating supper. The Canadian news was saying how, like, we can't get our people out of Sudan. Well, that's because Sudan is like such a hyper war zone. Like you
Just fighting everywhere.
It's just fighting everywhere. It's like
Jesus.
open massive war.
That's
like
crazy.
Ukraine looks like a fucking cakewalk compared to how much fighting there is going on down there. Because Egypt, I totally forgot to mention Egypt. Oh my god. Okay, Egypt lost their fucking shit over Wagner Company.
Yeah.
Because it was against the rapid response staff, the rebels. Because for some reason, the rebels had it in their fucking head that it was a good idea to capture as POWs 200 some Egyptian military personnel, not soldiers, that were there for whatever reason. I think they were just like to help Sudan with something. And they're not soldiers, but they captured 200 of them and executed a few of them. So now Egypt was like, what the fuck? And Egypt like threw down a fucking hammer on them. So now Wagner Company in Russia is fighting Egypt, the global response staff, and the loyalists, while America is readying to get troops in. And now the rapid response, I keep calling them that, the rebels and Wagner Company are like, okay, we gotta get like something to negotiate with the Americans to try and get a ceasefire.
Yeah.
So they're beelining for the embassy because they want to capture as many American citizens as possible. Because if they get,
oh my god!
Because if they get American citizens, then they can be like, "Aight, listen, let's do a ceasefire.
Yeah,
let's
parlay or no parlay.
Yeah, let's put a line in the ground because we know Egypt lost their fucking shit already.
Yeah,
and so Wagner Company wants the American civilians to be like, listen, you take over the rest of the country.
Yeah.
We want our oil wells and the mines. And if we can be cool like that, that's cool because no one wants massive open conflict.
Yeah.
At this point.
But that's going to fall through right away because everything will be about...
Because the rebels are just doing whatever the fuck they want. They were supposed to like just march into government and take over.
Yeah.
Instead, they went to like military bases, found Egyptians, and were like, pop. And now Egyptian government's just like, I'm gonna blow you up. Like
those are our people.
Yeah, the Egyptian government, like when that happened, they like instantly like they sent F-16s, they sent tanks, they sent fucking everything, and just bombed the shit out of the rebels.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I think that the whole, and it sounds like our podcast, like everything is bad. The world is on fire. It's coming to an end. Just start being fucking nice to one another. I was going to say, and read. Be nice to each other and read. Verify your sources. But like, holy shit, man. The world is fucking nuts.
Anyway, Sudan's one of my favorite wars right now.
Yeah, right now. But we live in such a bubble where like, none of this shit is happening to us.
No.
Like, it doesn't exist.
No.
And, like, there are tens of thousands of people are just being fucking splatted.
Like, the people, like, in Sudan, the kill count, no fucking idea.
Yeah.
It's impossible to know because they're leveling cities.
Yeah. Cities.
Yeah.
And it's not like a building. And, again, it's not like this is a military
No, it's
target.
No,
it's just
like, it's just like, fuck everyone.
Oh, man, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And that spurs more racism.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really, to blame, like, if you want to talk racism, everyone should blame the Sudanese rebels because, like, They're the ones who were just like, hey, I'm gonna attack these Egyptians. You can see Putin. No wonder Putin's has health fucking issues. He's just like, listen, guys, we're gonna do all the work. All you guys gotta do is walk into the government and say you're in charge. And they're like, okay, bang. Putin's like,
Yeah, fuck, not again.
you got one fucking job.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I think a lot of us have this misconception of like this, third world war of how everybody's going to be united on this front and united on this front. And it's not like that at all. Everyone's fighting each other.
Yeah.
They're all insane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember a while ago, they were asking Canadians about the monarchy and everyone was fucking poo-pooing it and shitting on it.
Yeah.
And then a couple other things happened, and like the royal family is definitely not clean hand, a gem of any sort.
Well, no, they're Germans.
But that queen in our current climate was holding some shit together, because like I'm not gonna like fucking break down the semantics of it. It's like the lesser of two evils kind of thing, or 1,500 evils at this point. But when she died, I remember like if you can break my spectrum of friends into two groups, right? There's the people that like the pursuit of information and learning about how the climate of the world is, and then there's the people that don't give a shit and want to do their stuff and live their life. Yeah. When that happened, it was this eerie silence of like, oh fuck. Like, that was like the only shitty bent pylon between like
pure chaos.
Yeah, like we were on red and that needle is fucking gone now.
And someone took a screw and took the gauge
the needle off. It was like the only thing that was like, come on now. And it's just
it's like, well, it's true because like no one trusts that dude. There's so much evidence of him doing really bad shit.
Yeah, well, and like to be fair, everyone does really bad shit.
No,
and
but it sucks really bad shit.
It sucks that we live in a world where like we're like, who does the least bad shit? You know, it would be nice if you have any kind of economic mind to start running for government, please. Just have like a moral compass, be able to stand up for yourself. And
as long as you don't eat babies, you're better than everyone else.
Just don't eat babies. Everything else, I guess, is on the table. Yeah. But oh yeah, it was nuts when she went. Like the people that were just like, it's unfathomable. We cannot articulate the equation of shit that will happen now.
Yeah,
because again, like despite the fact that her hands weren't fucking clean, that old 1,000-year-old woman with neck problems was holding a lot of shit together on a piece of paper in a rainstorm on a tiny string that was already on fire. Like it's nuts.
Like even in death, she was trying to come back, right? Yeah. She took the soul out of that one soldier. She was like, I must stop them.
Yeah, just push the button first. It's my fucking crown. You lost.
I still think that like we should have like the we should get rid of the fucking rat boner. That's the goddamn that's the current king, and we should get someone from. I don't know what the fuck his name is. Yeah, he looks like one.
Rat boner.
But we should get like someone with a Cockney accent as the king. Yeah, or queen,
or someone from the IRA.
That's a completely different nation.
Yeah, I know, but I mean they fucked around enough.
Yeah,
like, yeah. Just to be like, it's your turn now, Ireland.
I just imagine the Cockney accent on the queen. Oi, what the fuck you doing? I'm the fucking king.
You swamp donkey, get the fuck out of here. You ever fuck with like a drunk English guy? That doesn't happen.
No.
That's a good choice. I like the IRA better. I think
I like the IRA too.
More interesting. But
I think the IRA have the best music out of any terrorist.
Yeah.
They do. Have you ever listened to IRA songs?
No.
They're fucking fantastic.
Well, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I mean, we voted in a pile of jokes. Like, it's insane. Trudeau, garbage dildo tampon piece of shit.
So I am 100% with you on the whole Western world should just be ran by the IRA.
Deal. And just see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what? I have more faith in that system than I do our current
Car bombings for everybody.
yeah. Those motherfuckers will do it for the people.
Oh, they fucking will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you
Yeah.
if
They're
you're British,
crazy and insane and very violent, but they'll do it for the people.
though. Yeah. Britain will be wiped off the fucking map.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's something that no one ever talks about when it comes, like, throwback to the racism talk, but that's something that no one ever really talks about when they talk about racism, right? Because, like, the Scottish and the Irish have been oppressed their entire existence.
oh yeah. Well, and even when they came to Canada,
They were
Like-
used to. They were used. Okay, like, I always like to put this example: the Rideau Canal, the biggest skateway in the world, was built by the Scottish and the Irish. And when they died, they just poured cement over them, and
Yeah.
they're still there to this day, buried in there.
yeah, but and it's crazy. But and like we have a big problem with trying to navigate these waters of foreigners and colonial, like all these stupid fucking topics that we have no business talking about because none of us have decided to read anything about history.
Yeah.
We just assume that this is what's carrying on and what's been going on. And it's always been the problem.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when the Scottish and Irish, they would come off the boats and be stoned.
Yeah.
Same with the Italians. Like
They deserved it, though.
every Jesus Christ, every culture that comes in. But I mean, it just shows that we have no ability to learn our lesson. The only thing is that the Scottish, the Irish, for the most part, all the Asian groups, the Italian groups, the Portuguese, we went to fucking work and shut up about it.
Yeah.
We're not still bitching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not
100%.
asking for restitution. We're not fucking complaining. And I mean, there's a bunch more stuff I could get in there with that. And a lot of those groups have really strong cultures. Portuguese have a great family structure and a great family culture.
That's something.
Italians too.
That's something that I find is so lacking in Western culture.
Yeah.
Is the respect for family.
Yeah, it's non-existent.
And like, if someone's 25 and they're living with their parents, we will berate them and laugh at them like it's nobody's business, right?
Absolutely.
And it makes no sense. It's the only culture in the world that I know of that's like that.
Yep.
And
So
why?
many of those other cultures, and unfortunately a lot of them are being bombed all to shit right now. They understand that system.
Yeah.
But they take care of the elderly. Like they have a beautiful dynamic that works.
Yeah.
Right? So that you have the younger, the workforce in your family unit that can work. They all go to work. They get jobs. They do their thing. They all pool their money. They save their resources. And then they take care of their elderly.
Yeah.
And in return, the elderly take care of the children until they can grow up. And then you have a new generation that can take care of the ailing people,
Yeah.
can get into their retirement years. And they have that cycle. And then their family will expand off of that.
Yeah.
Whereas yours, get in a relationship, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's how and
it's just like, why? Like, why is it
Yeah.
like that?
yeah, and like you said, there's no cost of living. People with minimum wage jobs here can't afford to live
If
somewhere
you
else.
have a minimum wage job, you cannot live by yourself, period.
No.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. But that culture still exists where it's like, when are you going to get out of here? When are you going to move on? When are you going to fuck off? You know?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's a generational thing, I find. And I guess it's because it's a way that we measured success.
Value, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pride.
Yeah.
Look at where,
Look at where my kid is.
yeah, it was some fucking
under a
hockey
fucking-
dad dick
Yeah.
swinging thing.
Yeah.
Look at where he is now and what. Shut up.
It's like, shut up. Just because you fail doesn't mean you have to push him to fail too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I can justify all my shitty parenting because my kid has a place.
Meanwhile, he's like drinking water and ice cubes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's for supper? Ice cube soup.
Ice cube soup. Yeah. Whatever I find in the garbage. Just drive around the nice neighborhoods. You'll be all right.
Nice
Yeah.
soup. I shot a rat with my pellet gun. That's what I'm having for lunch.
Yeah. Well, and dumpster diving. Well, that's a
Yeah,
nice
there you go.
segue into dumpster diving. Like that's wild. I remember watching videos and they're pulling out things, especially like those organic and like, Whole Foods kind of spaces.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to give you this image of like everything's fresh.
Yeah.
They throw out tens of thousands of dollars
Yep.
in food, and we have people starving to death.
Yep.
That's fucking mind blowing.
There's your artificial fucking food shortages right there.
Yeah, what a bunch of fucking bullshit,
Yeah.
man. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
And I mean, like they're pulling things out that aren't even expired yet.
No.
But they like some of those spaces where it's like healthy, fucking fresh all the time.
Yeah.
They'll throw stuff out 2, 3, 4 days before it expires, just so they can keep that illusion or that brand or their marketing as like we're always fresh, we're always on point.
Yeah.
We sell everything. Like it's fucking mental.
It's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
And I think in Canada recently there was a law that passed that stores can't do that, and if they do that, it has to be sent to a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I read something along those lines.
Man, you could be so proactive on that, get ahead of that curve, and have volunteers or employees making food for people. They won't even have to know that like it's on its, like it's not expired, like it's 3 days before it goes or whatever.
And like even if it like, dude, I eat stuff off the ground. Like, like give them to me, bro.
Yeah, give it to, just give it to the middle class. We're starving too. Fuck.
Yeah, seriously, fuck. I'm tired of snatching birds off of tree branches. Like, yeah, we're starving. We're starving. No. Let me just suck it in.
You're lying. Lying bastard.
My clothes don't even fit me anymore. I'm so fat. I'm so thin. I'm gonna have to go down to a XXX.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I dropped my cigarette. Oh fuck. Yeah. I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I used to be 400 pounds. I thought you were going to go with bigger and you're getting smaller. No, I'm getting bigger. Patrick eats his feelings. This has been 3 Dead Babies. We hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. We know we did, and that's all that matters.
Don't forget to leave comments, like the video, and please subscribe. It helps us an amazing amount.
Yeah.
Again, I'm Vampire Jesus.
I'm your fabulous co-host, and we would love to keep, talking shit about everybody's problems. So in that comment section, light it up with whatever's fucking burning your ass, pissing you off, making you crazy, and we'd love to dig into it and have a conversation about it. Until next time, we'll see you later.